Welcome to A Little Less Stupid, songs and stories to be dumb, less, and smart. More. Today, on A Little Less Stupid, we are going to know a little more how to tell someone that they smell. And I was in this cafe with turquoise walls and a lot of beach paraphernalia all over the walls, and waiting for my friend to arrive. And I was just thinking, I was like, man, why can't everybody just have their ducks in a row? And I was thinking, I'm probably going to have an awkward conversation with someone. Earlier in the week, I literally had somebody else's trash in the back of my car with a completely rotten potato from their house they hadn't cleaned up for who knows how long. And even my son was like, Dad, what's that smell? And I was just like, people can't take care of their potatoes, son. The world needs more people who can care for their potatoes. And I was sitting in this cafe just thinking, how am I going to tell this person the world needs more from them? And my friend arrived and we had our sandwich and smoothie and I really just we had the how are you doing questions, and that was actually really fun. And I asked kind of leading towards how I was going to tell him you need to not have rotten potatoes in your life. I asked him hey, how's the job search? I knew he hadn't had a job for over a year. And he's like, it's okay. And we went into some of the details of his life, and it sounded like the assumptions in my brain that I was going to tell him that his potatoes were rotten. I realized there was more to the story than I knew. And the things I had planned on saying sounded a lot harder to say in person than in my head. And so I just asked some questions, and I said, how are things going with your wife? And he said, they're not particularly good. And it sounded like in my mind, everything was his problem. And it sounded like there were two sides to the story, and there were things going on with his spouse. And I said, hey, what's going on with that? And the things that he listed off, wasting time on their phone, or not helping putting kids down to sleep, or you fill in the blank. And everything he listed were things I wasn't doing as well. And I was like, dang, I need to get my rotten potatoes off the fridge and clean my act up. And the things I wanted to tell him to do and the advice I wanted to give him, I didn't actually give, but I just asked, essentially, what advice would you give to yourself? And he already knew what he needed to do. And I just simply asked, when are you going to do that thing? And he said, I think I'm going to do it tomorrow. And after finishing our smoothies and Sammy's, we left, and it was just a really good conversation. And I'm really happy I didn't tell him his potatoes were rotten, because in the words of, I think it's Jesus, he's let him who's without sin cast the first stone. And I realized two things. One, I got rotten potatoes, and I'm no one to tell someone that their potatoes stink. But the second thing is simply that people they don't need my advice. No one really needs, maybe sometimes they do, but generally people just need a listening ear. People need someone to just ask, what's going on? What would you do in this situation? When are you going to do it? And after leaving that conversation, this last week with family, someone had said their body was just tied up in knots, literally. And I wanted to go into how I know about fitness, and these are the stretches. And I just asked, what are the two things you think you should do? And they said the two things. And they didn't need me to give them a spiel on foam rolling, or give a spiel on the psoas or the different nerves. They just needed to be like asked and listened to. And in this life, it gets so chaotic where we're not able to remember our own advice to ourselves. And so I hope I can, one, get my potatoes off the fridge, and two, ask people questions instead of just mansplaining or just giving people unsolicited advice. And so I wrote this song about potatoes. I'm noticing a trend of food being the title of my songs. But this song is about Josh getting his potatoes, his rotten potatoes off the fridge and getting it together. And so this song is called Potatoes. Do you smell that awful thing coming from the fridge and swearing it just wasn't me? The sweet potato I bought last spring. Now it's summer and I'm sorry for the song it sings. We need more people who can care for their potatoes. Rotting on a fridge with 2-month-old Alfredo. Clean it up, clean it up, I got a song and it needs a rhyme. Letting my phone take my Monday and my precious time. I got a hot one, I call her babe, but she getting cold while I be looking other ways. We need more people who can care for their potatoes. Rotting on a fridge with 2-month-old Alfredo. Clean it up, clean it up, Thought the humans needed my words, lyrics shaped into a chorus and another verse. All they needed was my ears. And the question, have you ever looked right over here? We need more people who can care for their potatoes. Rotting on a fridge with 2-month-old Alfredo. Clean it up, clean it up, Thank you for joining me on this journey to be a little less stupid. If you have not done it, please leave 5 stars and subscribe so you know when the next episode comes out. And if you wanted to send this to a friend, let them know I didn't know it was possible to write a song about potatoes. But this guy did it. And we'll see you next week on A Little Less Stupid.